Welcome to Veil Decoded. This is where forgotten knowledge resurfaces and forbidden truths are spoken. Today, we open the gate to one of the most obscure and misunderstood realms in the spiritual universe, the Lower Astral Plane. In Brazil, this place is known as the Umbral, a term rooted in Spiritism that translates to threshold. A waiting room between life and death, between ignorance and awakening. But don't be mistaken, the Umbral is not simply symbolic. Mystics, mediums, occultists, from Chico Xavier to Crowley, have described it as a real dimension. A spiritual layer that overlaps our physical world, vibrating at a lower frequency, invisible to most. And its nature is terrifying. What is the lower astral? The lower astral is not hell, at least not in the traditional fire and brimstone sense. But it is a realm of deep suffering, a place of transition if you are lucky. A place formed by the psychic and emotional debris of humanity, fear, hatred, addiction, grief, and denial. It exists because we created it. Every violent act, every suppressed trauma, every unspoken thought of despair leaves an imprint. These imprints accumulate in the lower astral, shaping its landscapes and influencing its inhabitants. It is a dimension of emotional density, of magnetic pain. And those who resonate with it are pulled into it after death or even in life through altered states. What does it look like? Those who have claimed to visit the Umbral in dreams, astral projections, or near-death experiences describe a realm unlike anything on Earth. It's often shrouded in thick fog, with a sky that never brightens. Twilight or perpetual dusk sets the mood. Some say it's always raining. Others say the sun never rises. Imagine cities in ruins, abandoned streets littered with broken memories, desolate hospitals, endless alleyways, slums without life, except for those trapped in their own suffering. Some areas are complete wilderness, others overcrowded with wailing spirits who no longer understand who or where they are. Time is not linear there. You can walk for what feels like days and end up exactly where you began, or remain stuck in a moment of regret that loops over and over again. Why do souls go there? Not everyone ends up in the Umbral. Only those who died deeply attached to earthly emotions, anger, jealousy, vengeance, fear, addiction, are pulled into its vibration. It isn't punishment, it's resonance. You go where you vibrate. And if you vibrate low, you wake up in the lower astral. Some souls don't even realize they've died. Others are so wrapped in denial or rage that they keep replaying scenes from their lives, haunting places, people, or even their own past. And then there are those who are trapped. What lives there? The lower astral is not empty. In fact, it's alive with entities, and not all of them were ever human. Some are shapeless, built from centuries of negative thoughts, feeding on fear, guilt, and sorrow. Others are intelligent predators, capable of manipulating lost souls, appearing as comforting figures, or even pretending to be divine. And then there are rulers, dark beings who dominate regions of the Umbral like tyrants. They sit on crumbling thrones, commanding legions of confused spirits, feeding off their pain. Some occult traditions refer to these beings as archons or watchers, gatekeepers of the spiritual trap. Are they demons? Are they egregores created by collective trauma? Or are they something else entirely? No one truly knows. But one thing is clear. In the lower astral, power is not earned by love or light, but by domination and fear. On the surface, you might find souls who are confused, recently deceased, or still attached to people they left behind. But the deeper you go, the darker it gets. The energies become thicker, the entities more grotesque, and the suffering more intense. There are zones where souls are completely disfigured, not physically, but energetically, where time and space mean nothing, where an echo of your last scream can haunt you for what feels like an eternity. And the most horrifying part? Some spirits forget they were ever human. They merge with the frequency of suffering and become part of the environment itself. Is there hope? A purpose to the umbral? Surprisingly, yes. The umbral is not just a prison, it's also a purification zone. Some call it the spiritual quarantine, a space for the soul to confront itself, to burn away what it clung to in life. Many souls awaken within the umbral after experiencing long periods of suffering. Sometimes light beings, guides, or ancestors enter to help the willing. There are even zones within the lower astral that resemble healing cities or transition camps, where spirits begin to remember who they are and move on. It's a dark tunnel, yes, but it may be a necessary step toward ascension. Pain becomes a mirror, and once the soul stops running, it can begin to rise. Can the living enter the lower astral? They can, and many do without even realizing it. During sleep, during trauma, in moments of extreme emotion or altered consciousness. Astral travelers and shamans have long warned about accidental descents into the lower astral. You may feel like you're dreaming, but what if that dream, the one where you're being chased, lost, or drowning in fog, was a visit? And what if something came back with you? Some people report waking up exhausted, terrified, with images they can't forget. Perhaps it's just the imagination. Or maybe the veil is thinner than we think. Have you ever felt like you've been there? A place you can't describe, but one you know wasn't a dream? It felt real? Leave your story in the comments. I read every single one. And if you're ready to keep decoding the forbidden, hit that subscribe button. The veil has been lifted.